What's up, folks? It is Dr. Remy LeBeau, and I'm here in the X Lair to provide you with a cure for all your ailments associated with just not having enough X-Men statues in your life. Today, I'm providing you a treatment that involves a hex factor. In fact, that is the power, the hex power that this mutant wields. Some of you may know her, some of you may be completely in the dark about who she is. She is in fact Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, the daughter of Magneto, Eric Lehnsherr. This is actually the third statue of Wanda Maximoff that Bowen Designs produced. Um, this is produced by Bowen Designs. It was actually just released. Right now it's May of 2013. It was maybe released about a month and a half ago. This was the okay. So originally there was a statue produced of her, maybe like I don't know. I'm gonna say 5 to 10 years ago. It's a nice statue. It's got her in a very simple pose, and it's got like a nice cape to it, and it kind of wraps around her, and it's very elegant. I never really liked that statue for some reason. It just didn't stand out too much for me as like something that I wanted to get. A lot of people do like that statue, and I understand why. It's the sort of statue you either love or hate, and if you love it, there are reasons for that. She's beautiful, she's elegant, but for me, it just didn't scream out Wanda Maximoff. I don't know. There was something about her that was not Wanda Maximoff to me. This is Wanda Maximoff to me. This is the Wanda Maximoff that I find to have the most relevance, the most relevant connection to the actual character that you know that plays such an important role in the Marvel universe, played such an important role for the X-Men specifically in the last 10 years, which a lot of people, it's a very controversial situation. I'm referring to M Day, uh, everything that happened as a result of her saying no more mutants. I'm going to go into that in a second, but because of that, she's become probably one of the most important X-Men. I'm going to call her an X-Men villain in the Marvel universe. Currently, she's not a villain. Um, you you can maybe see it here. She's got an Avengers base. She's part of the Avengers. Um, Her brother's Quicksilver. She's been in the Avengers. I think Quicksilver was in the Avengers at some point. Um, she's been all over the place, but she's mainly always kind of fallen into the Avengers role. She was married to the Vision, which was a sentient robot that I think Tony Stark created. I might be wrong about that. I just don't know enough about the Avengers. But she did go crazy for a while, and what happened was, so she went crazy, and then her power is so great. Like, she has the ability to just warp reality. And it's so powerful that she was able to change the world into a world in which mutants were revered as sort of the dominant species on the planet, and Magneto was like the president of the world, and her and Polaris, who's her sister, and Quicksilver were like royalty, and the world was completely different, it and there was like this whole M Day storyline. It ran a bunch of issues. It was called House of M, actually. Um, so this is issue number 7 of 8. Issue number 7 of 8. Um, so there were 8 issues, and of course it ran through like all the major titles. It actually affected like non-mutant characters. Like I know Spider-Man like really went through a lot of turmoil as a result of it. Within the story, Gwen Stacy had not died, and he was actually married to Gwen Stacy and had a child. And when the world reverted back into the regular world, like he actually had a memory of that, and it really screwed him up for a long time. Like having remembered that he actually did get that opportunity. It was like a really important storyline, and a lot of people don't like big storylines like that kind of change the universe a lot. But I liked it quite a bit. What was most significant about that storyline was at the end when certain X Men and certain Avengers realized what was happening and then got her to change things back. Like she she was just falling apart, and like she went crazy. And then so what she finally wound up saying was three little words, as I already mentioned, and you can see the panel here, which is so important. There it is. She says, there we go. Can we see it? No more mutants. No more mutants right there. Let me get a better shot of this. Here we go. There it is. No more mutants. And by her saying that, she decimated the population of mutants down to just less than 200 mutants. And that drove like every story in the last 10 years, basically. And it was like super interesting, and just led to so many interesting things. And this was the brainchild of Brian Michael Bendis, who's currently writing X-Men. I like the guy a lot. Okay, so this is November 2005. Right now it's 2013. So I mean, let's say it was about 7 or 8 years worth of stories that were driven by this one moment, this one event that kind of just rebooted. Like it didn't reboot. It just changed the nature of the the regular Marvel universe, Earth 616, where all the characters exist that we've all grown up knowing. It just changed the nature of all of it, and it was such a great move, and it breathed so much interesting life into the X-Men that you need to do with characters that have been around for 50 plus years. So my hat goes off to Brian Michael Bendis. My hat goes off to the Scarlet Witch here, who is responsible for changing the Marvel universe. And because of that, and because she did that, like I kind of felt like I needed to have her in my collection, even though she has an Avengers base, and I don't collect Avengers statues because I just can't collect everything. I wanted to get her as sort of like an X-Men villain because I mean, what happened in the world was was a villainous act. Killing most mutants. I mean, there were like millions of mutants before she did this. She didn't kill them. She actually just took their powers away. But that resulted in all sorts of chaos and turmoil, and the remaining mutants being hunted down. All sorts of interesting things, and it was all because of this beautiful lady here. So the statue itself, like this, so it's an interesting thing. So Bowen Designs decides to produce a new version of Scarlet Witch, as you see her here. It's based on a particular work of art, which I don't exactly remember where one can find it, but I'll try to find it actually and post it on my blog post. But uh, so obviously you can see this. It has a very elaborate cape design, which I love because it really captures like the power, the magnitude of her power. She obviously can change reality in super important ways, in just really substantial ways. And if you're gonna have a statue of a character that can do something like that, you want it to somewhat evoke that kind of power. And I think the cape helps it to do that. And so I remember like when Randy Bowen sneaked this statue online, a lot of people were really happy with it, but a lot of people were really not happy with it. A lot of people were just looking for a simple cape because they don't actually care about the actual comic stories that much. A lot of collectors, they're just really into the the statues, or they don't read the current stories, and they're just kind of interested in getting statues that represent the characters they grew up with that they're no longer reading in very simple ways. And so they requested that he do like a shorter cape, a smaller cape, so that she's easier to display, and doesn't necessarily kind of reflect a modern more design to her, which I guess people are averse to. So Randy Bowen, being just like the super like awesome like producer that listens to his fans and actually takes the feedback from the people that interact with him online. Mainly, he interacts with them on statuemarvels.com. He decided, you know what, I am gonna produce this statue with a smaller cape, and that is going to be the regular version that's going to be available of this statue. It's going to be sold in all the online retailers, at comic book shops, through Diamond distributors. Collectors are going to be happy. But to those people that do want this statue with this cape, they're also going to get the opportunity to get it. So he put it up as a website exclusive that was made to order, which means that he puts up the statue for 2 weeks or 2 to 3 weeks, sees how many orders he gets for it. If there's a sufficient amount of orders put in, he produces the statue. Fortunately, there were a sufficient amount of orders put in for this statue. Um, so so it was produced. This is number 41 of 421. Normally I'll pick up the statue, but I don't want to do it with this one because she's like very fragile and I don't want to harm her in any way. Um, so the information on the base, which you can see in my blog post, is that this is number 41 out of 421. So it's a very limited piece. Like all made-to-order pieces, you're gonna get a small edition size like that because it's dictated by the amount of orders that are put in through this like very small window of time. This was sculpted by Tim Miller. I don't know if he did it digitally. I don't think it was digital. Tim Miller did a really nice job. As you can see, just the cape itself is just beautiful. It's got so much detail to it. Um, the cape is a work of art. The cape is a work of art. But beyond that, obviously, the face is beautiful and the body is just perfect and um, every costume element is beautiful and her face is beautiful and her hair and I mean, it's just a great job overall. So, Mr. Miller, and Mr. Bowen, thank you for producing this amazingly beautiful statue of the Scarlet Witch. Like I said, with the original statue that was produced by Bowen Designs of the Scarlet Witch, there was something a little off about her for me. Didn't quite capture the Scarlet Witch the way I thought she should be captured. This one does. I look at her and I see Wanda Maximoff, and I'm really happy. So I couldn't be happier with this statue. When I finally got her and I opened her up, I was like, "Yay! This is Wanda Maximoff!" And actually for a second there, I made sure that mutants weren't actually in the world, and I had to turn on Fox News basically to make sure that the mutants weren't in charge. And I don't normally watch Fox News, but I figured Fox News would be the ones to like be really criticizing like the mutants in charge. So I made sure that the mutants weren't in charge because this statue captures her so perfectly in 3 dimensions that I had to make sure she didn't actually alter our reality. It's that good of a statue. It's that good of a design. And you can see the features on the rest of the statue on my website, on my blog. I mean, everything about it and the close-ups that I took is just perfectly done. It's just beautifully well crafted. Can't say enough good things about it. So the statue comes in 4 parts, I believe. It's like the head, and then the cape is separate from that, and then you have the torso and the base. And it's really easy to put in. The cape goes in with some magnets, um, and then the head goes in with magnets as well. I love that they use like this metallic red paint for, I guess, her one-piece swimsuit and her hands and her boots. It looks really nice, and it's a nice, and I think it's the same sort of metallic red for the like the headpiece that she has. And then there's like a matte red that's used for the cape, which is really nice. So there's a nice contrast there. And then there's like a kind of like a matte pink look for the legs and the rest of that. I guess it must be like a pink bodysuit that she wears that covers like basically her entire body from neck to toe, and that is done really nicely, very nicely shaded. It's just beautiful. The paint job is really nice. There's just This is a beautiful statue. If you like the Scarlet Witch, I recommend getting this statue. She's just a gorgeous, gorgeous piece. One super important piece of information that was recently revealed is that, well, by Joss Whedon, who's the man, like the guy you want to creating anything related to Marvel, Buffy, X-Men. Um, he basically revealed. I'm just looking for a really cool image to sort of compare her to, but there isn't one. Um, he just revealed that the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are both going to be in the Avengers too, and that's really awesome. I love that. It's like there's like this complicated situation in which like Disney and Marvel own the rights, obviously, to all the characters, but as far as the film rights go, 20th Century Fox, Sony owns freaking the X-Men. They own Spider-Man, and it sucks because we all us Marvel fans want Marvel to get all the rights back and to be able to use all the characters at will, so that we can see movies where you just have like maybe they can do an Infinity Gauntlet movie, you know, where they just have every character in there. That would be so cool. Anyway, um, the so Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, it's interesting. They, I guess, based on the contracts that these companies have, like they kind of don't necessarily fall within the definition of the X-Men, and so Joss Whedon is able to use them in the Avengers. So it's going to be really interesting because obviously they're the children of Magneto. That's not going to be able to be mentioned in the movie. I don't think they're going to be able to mention that they're mutants, but you know, all the fans are going to know who they are, and obviously Joss Whedon is going to do an amazing job of having them in there, and you know, and just representing them accurately, and you know, sort of implying to us that hey, we all know what's actually going on here, which is going to be fantastic. So look for her coming up very soon in the Avengers 2. Until then, you can get this very beautiful statue. Hopefully, you can find one online. I'm sure you can on eBay. For now, this is a sort of thing where, you know, just came out a couple of months ago, so there's going to be some out there. Some people, you know, like these speculators, these statue speculators, like they buy them, and sometimes they and they immediately unload them right when they get sent out because they want their money back and they want to make a little bit of profit. So, you know, you're not going to pay exactly what it was being sold for on BowenDesigns.com because it was a statue exclusive, but you might get it at a reasonable price, you know, 200, 250 bucks. Not a terrible price to pay for something this beautiful. In the future, obviously, she's going to go up. Eventually, when the Avengers 2 comes out and everybody finds out about the Scarlet Witch, I have a feeling something like this is going to be highly sought after. Alright, folks, I'll give her one last twirl here because, well, I mean, why not? She's just so cool. Let's just take one last look at her. Look at that cape, man. Wow. Look at that. Jesus Christ. How long did it take to sculpt that? And then paint it. Look at all the shading on it. It's just beautiful. It's just a gorgeous piece. She's very fragile, though. I would be very careful with her. If you get her, don't put her amongst too many statues. I initially wanted to put her with Magneto, but there's just a lot going on with her, and there's a lot going the new Magneto, the action Magneto, which I've featured on my blog recently, and you can also catch a video of on my YouTube channel. I intended to like kind of do a House of M thing with her and Polaris and maybe even Quicksilver, but there's just so much going on with her, and there's so much going on with Magneto's cape as well. It's just they don't necessarily work together unless you have this enormously huge space with a lot of like big risers, which I don't have right now. So for now, I'm just putting her in a detolf. I'm displaying her with this very key issue of X-Men that you know just is awesome, and and I might get a Quicksilver soon to kind of put in there with her because you know it's always good to have her with her brother. Like they're you know they're super they have a super strong connection. Obviously, Joss Whedon feels that they should be in the Avengers 2 together. So might as well get her. Might as well get her a Quicksilver. I had a Quicksilver before. Don't necessarily love the Bowen Quicksilver. I hope that they release a better one at some point in the near future. But the one that exists isn't too expensive, so I might be hunting one down soon. Alright, folks. Thank you for checking out my blog post and my video. My blog is X-Men Statues of Future Past.blogspot.com. My YouTube channel is Dr. Remy LeBeau's X-Lair. And as always, X in the box because ain't nobody checking me. I'll catch you all very soon. Thank you for all your support and keep collecting. See ya.